All right, welcome back to the Startup Screen Printing Podcast. My name is Jesse. I've got a really exciting interview for you today. Someone who I've had my eye on in the industry, who she's just making a huge impact, helping people all over the place get started in screen printing and make a transition from craft businesses into the screen print world. And the things that she's doing are just phenomenal. So I'm really pleased to have Jennifer Sanderson today from Pigskins and Pigtails. She joined me and we talked about how she got started, how she started her blog that has now transformed into the business that it is. And we talk a little bit about the new press that she's partnered with Ryanet to create. So I really think you'll enjoy this interview. I'll be back at the end to kind of wrap up, but I'm really excited, really happy, really thankful that Jennifer was willing to join and have a conversation with me. She's a phenomenal person. What she's doing for the industry is just invaluable. And so I hope you'll go support her, go thank her for being a part of it and enjoy this episode. All right. Well, today we have a special guest. I'm excited to have a conversation with her. I had a chance to meet with Jennifer a couple of weeks ago and just kind of share our backgrounds with each other and get to know each other. But I'm excited to share her knowledge with you all. You may or may not have seen her very active on Instagram and TikTok as well. And of course, a new product from Ryanet that we'll talk about later. But we have with us today Jennifer Sanderson from Pigskins and Pigtails. So, Jennifer, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So we want to just hear a lot of Jennifer's background. We talk about what she's doing. Like I said, some of the products that she's worked with some companies to get out into the market to help the screen print industry and the craft industry. So Jennifer, why don't you just start us off by just giving us a sort of a little backstory of Pigskins and Pigtails? It's a very creative name. I know there's a backstory behind that. So tell us who you are, a little bit about your business, and we'll start there.
Yeah. Well, I've always enjoyed the crafting side of things, being creative, thinking of new ideas. I actually started as a blogger in 2010, just as a creative outlet for me. I just wanted a place to kind of share my ideas, things I was making. That was back kind of when Pinterest was becoming popular.
Yeah.
And I just started posting and sharing projects that I was making. And, at the time, I was, making a lot of custom T-shirts for my kids to wear on Friday nights as I took them to football games. My husband was a high school football coach,
Okay.
and here in Texas, Friday Night Lights was a big thing, and
Yeah.
so, we would gear up for Friday Night Lights, and, they were in their pigtails, and the pigskins was for the football, and so that's where the blog name started.
Okay.
And so it really started as a blog, and it was just a place I was posting, what I was making, and it was just really a fun hobby place to share things, um, and that was really all that I had envisioned when I started it. Didn't really didn't really forecast where it would grow to today, um, but it was just a place to be creative.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you started that blog, was that really just you just wanted to share what you were creating, or were you teaching how you were doing it, or was it literally just here's what I made? I think it's pretty cool.
It was a little bit of both. It was just kind of like, "Here's what I made." Some posts were just pictures. It was just a lot of, ideas, but, there were a couple tutorials in there or like a printable, "Here's what I made, and here's a printable you can download to make it yourself."
Hmm.
But not a whole lot of instruction back then. It was really just sharing ideas, and posting it on Pinterest so other people could, take the idea and run with it.
Did you start having people approach you? You know, the seeing that you're making your kids these the shirts to wear and things. At what point did you have people start saying, "Hey, could you make me one?"
Yeah, so there was a lot of friends and family wanting shirts, and so I was doing that kind of just for fun here and there, making coaches' wives shirts and their kids shirts, but, really just small scale, for our team, really was the
Yeah.
only were the only shirts I was making.
And so did the craft side of things ever, turn into a business, or has this just transitioned straight into kind of the training methods that you do now?
It really just remained a blog for a long time until I got into screen printing and it transitioned into teaching. So,
Okay.
um, I really never transitioned into selling, what I was making.
Okay. So you mentioned getting into screen printing. That obviously wasn't from the very beginning. Obviously, screen printing is what I'm in and my kind of passion in all of this. So I'd love to hear how that came about. How did you stumble on screen printing, and what has kept you going with that particular method of apparel creation?
Yeah, so back when I was making the girls' shirts, I was just using my vinyl cutter and making iron-on vinyl T-shirts for them. I It was an easy way to make shirts at home,
Yeah.
just really simple way to get started. But I never really loved the feel of the shirts. I wasn't making a whole
Mm,
lot for myself, or wasn't really a method that I was comfortable selling. And one day I was in the craft store and decided that, I really wanted to be able to screen print. That was really the method that I preferred to wear. And so I grabbed a screen and took it home and decided that I was going to give screen printing a try. I had no idea what I was doing. I watched a few YouTube videos
yeah.
and decided that the emulsion method was just a little bit more than I was ready to get into. So
Yeah.
instead, I took a piece of vinyl that I cut on my vinyl cutter and stuck it on my screen and screen printed, and it worked. And I put a video of that on YouTube, and that's really what kind of got everything started for me. That video went viral and got a lot of people asking questions about that method and
Yeah.
follow-up questions on what else you could do with that, and then that's kind of where I got into teaching process, was just, um, other people wanted to know how to do it, so I started sharing more videos as I was learning the process myself. I really got into it with very little experience and learning it as I was sharing videos.
Yeah, that's super cool. I feel like, when I got into the industry, of course, same thing, YouTube University, where everybody kind of goes first before anything else. And, you got Cat Spit Productions and Ryan, the early Ryanette videos kind of taught me everything
Yep.
that I know. And but when I look back, I don't recall seeing, like, I remember even the last several years seeing that people were creating a screen with vinyl, and I was like, I had no idea that was even possible, and I don't recall there being a lot of information out there about that. Did you stumble across something, or was that just an idea you had, like, "Hey, I bet I can block out a screen with the vinyl," or did you already see that being done?
I don't remember. I think I had seen something out there maybe that kinda gave me the idea
Mhm,
of trying it out, but there were not any demo videos that I
mhm.
was following along, so I was really just experimenting and
Yeah,
figuring it out as I went it, kinda combining processes, like, looking at the screen printing process and figuring out, like, how I could make that work with the vinyl method, and it was a
yeah.
lot of trial and error, and just and then I realized that there weren't videos, and so that's where I kinda just decided to fill that gap and start making them myself.
Yeah. No, that's really neat. What I love so much about that, something I've said over and over in my videos, to my, community is that, you know, people might try to say that there's a certain way things need to be done, and there, just like with any industry, there are those who are experts and veterans in the industry that will say, and probably would have said before you ever tried it, "You can't make a screen with vinyl." You can't do that. And I love that that didn't stop you. And whether or not you even come across anything that said you couldn't, just the fact that it wasn't necessarily widely being done and you were willing to give it a try. I think that's a great encouragement to anybody getting into screen printing, that there's not just one method and there's not just one right way. There are several ways. And you've got the vinyl and you've got the emulsion, but in between that you have the vellum sheets that, they're very similar to putting vinyl. You're sticking that sheet onto a screen and then exposing that. So it's kind of like a transitional step. So I love to hear that you're able to find a way that works for you, and it may not work for everybody, but I'm seeing more and more people use vinyl to create screens, and I think it's fantastic to see, because it's allowing people to get into an industry that, screen printing itself, the actual print side, I feel like it's a little bit easier than making the screen, and you can't print without the screen. And so having a new
Yeah.
method like you've got is great because it's allowing so many more people to get into screen printing and experience actual printing the shirts and not letting the screen making be what kind of holds them back. So yeah, that's super
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing is just showing people that it doesn't have to be super complicated, and you're right, there were a lot of people early on that said that's not gonna work, you
Mm,
can't do that, you're not gonna be able to print a lot of shirts that way, and I think that it's been fun to prove that you can. You
yeah.
can do a lot of shirts that way. I mean, it's like anything, I mean, if you're printing manually, can you print thousands of shirts manually? Yes, but using an automatic is definitely gonna be easier for
Yeah.
you. Can you print shirts with vinyl? Yes. Are there easier ways if you're printing thousands of shirts? Yes, but it's doable, and I think that, that's the thing that can scare people off when they're getting
Hmm.
started is, hearing that it can't be done, and I just wanna let people know that it can and show videos that, I've done it, it can be done, and so just give it a try and, you'd be surprised at what you can do with some very simple materials. You don't have to go out and get this really expensive equipment to get started,
Yeah.
and you can build up to that when it makes sense for your business, and that's the important thing is that you just get started and make sure it's a process that you really love and that's gonna make sense for you and that you can, either have fun doing or make money doing, and then figure out what tools you need to invest in next.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, when it as it pertains to screen printing itself, what I mean, obviously you found a way to make the screen and you mentioned a lot of trial and error. What was one part of screen printing that you just feel like was like hard to get past or hard to get through, but once you figured it out, it would just like changed everything for you? Is there anything about the process that kind of stumbled you up front, but now it just like made a huge difference?
There wasn't anything in particular that I got really stuck or frustrated with.
Mm,
I mean, I definitely messed up my fair share of shirts along the way.
yeah.
But every time I messed up, it was one of those like, "Oh, okay, that's how you do it."
Mhm.
And it helped trigger something and realizing how to do it differently next time. And
Yeah.
so I learned from every mistake on how to fix it for the next shirt that I made. And so I was just kind of almost documenting all of those so
Mhm.
that every time I was getting better at it. So I wouldn't say there were any times where I just got frustrated and wanted to give up.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest like game changer for me was when I got my first screen printing press. Going from just printing on a table with a loose screen to having a press really just changed the ability to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
that was the biggest change for me.
Yeah, that's great. And what I hear out of that is you wouldn't have known how to do things better if you didn't mess up and you weren't willing
Oh,
to do
yeah,
it wrong, and just to try something. I think a lot of times we get stuck on, well, I need to know exactly how to do it right before I ever do it. And
exactly.
you'll go to do
Yeah,
it and
and
something else will mess up.
oh, for sure. Yeah. Once you get everything planned out, then something else will go wrong. So,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I try to get across to my audience all the time is that you just gotta try it. You just gotta, put ink on the screen and go for it. And really there's nothing to lose. I mean, use an old t-shirt or something so that you're really not, out any money on giving it a try because you don't know until you go for it. And so um I I I think that the fear of messing up stops a lot of people, but
Yeah.
I think what got me to where I am now and being comfortable in printing was just being willing to try it and mess up and knowing that, you're a water-based, fan, knowing that we can just wash the shirt out if we mess up.
Yeah,
So,
I've done that
I've messed up a lot of
even
shirts, but I've
recently.
also saved a lot of shirts. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mess up even today, so,
Yeah.
um, it still happens, but I mean, I think I've gotten to where I don't ever waste shirts. I either,
Mhm.
save them and reuse them for, test printing later, or I'm able to
Mhm.
wash them and reprint on them, so I've gotten better at that at least.
Yeah. So let's talk about the craft market for a little bit and just the business side for someone who, has a vinyl cutter and maybe they've done crafting and making, the drink items or maybe some apparel, or maybe they're doing screen printing, maybe even with your new press. Um, what are some things that you can help them focus on as it pertains to having a craft business that's at home? Because I feel like that's a little bit different um, than just having a screen print business at home. When you're kind of approaching clients, you're looking for jobs that are, 50, 100 shirts. And I feel like a craft business, you've got several different products are there that are available that, you're creating. What are some tips that you can kind of help guide these early business owners that maybe started out as crafters like you and found themselves in business? Or maybe they are started with screen printing and they have a vinyl cutter and they could maybe do some other crafts to kind of create a business on the side at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for really for any business is to find your audience. I
Mm,
mean, you've got to find your people first. Um, that was the key to what, my success on social media was finding your people first
yeah.
and then figuring out what those people need and serving them. So, finding, who you can connect with and then being able to offer them the t-shirts and other products that that they're going to love. So, if you're really connected with I don't know, like real estate, if you're really into the real estate community, then the products that you offer could be very connected to, t-shirts that realtors would connect with
Mhm.
and, the signs, the welcome home signs and those kind of
Mm,
things. And so you can tailor everything that you make to the people that you're connected with, and it makes it easier to sell the items when you know who you're trying to present your items and to. So
yeah.
I think that knowing who your audience is first helps instead of trying to craft something and then present it out to the internet and try to find buyers. So trying to think the opposite way of connecting with the community first and then creating your products. And then you're right, as a crafter, offering a wide variety of things. So if you have a vinyl cutter, you can make shirts, you can make hats, you can do tumblers. I've just gotten into laser cutting. So you can do, I mean, that opens up so many products that you can
Mhm.
offer. So finding one or two key customers can open up so many doors for your business. You could, find a couple of businesses locally and be able to offer everything for them from the t-shirts that their employees wear to, things that they need for their, business to give away with their logo on them.
Mhm.
Um, God, it just the ideas start flowing once you know who those people are that you want to sell your products to.
Mm. Yeah. No, I love that. And you're right, it is a opposite. It's the opposite of what's natural or what's really promoted in business in general is to like create a product and then find somebody willing to buy it. And I think screen printing is no different from that. A lot of people start screen print shops and they're like, now I got to find somebody that wants screen printing apparel, and that's easier said than done. And you're like, all right, my business is open, and then the phone doesn't ring, and you don't have any emails. But I love that focus on find the audience first and figure out what they need and how you can fulfill that need. And I think that's a phenomenal way to approach any business, and especially screen printing, because I think um embroidery is usually the first one to come in of like, well, I do screen printing, so that means I need to do embroidery, so now I serve everybody that wants embroidery. And that may not be the case for your ideal customer. Maybe they don't need embroidery, and so there's no reason to just offer it because somebody's willing to pay for it. Offer it because your target audience wants it, and they'll pay you more because you are the expert for them and you serve them, in any capacity they need. So I love that
Exactly.
approach.
It helps you also justify your next purchases. So if you
Mm,
instead of just going out and buying that embroidery machine, if you have your customers and they're telling you this is what we want next, then you know that when you go in and buy that embroidery machine that you're going to be able to make sales right away.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you know, instead of just guessing what people want, wait until the demand is there and then make your moves with your business.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And from a marketing and communications perspective, when you find those people, you know how to speak to them. And so selling your service and your product is easy because you speak their language and you're there to serve them instead of trying to convince somebody, that they need to buy from you. I can imagine that being so much more simplified at that point.
Exactly. They trust you and that's, what I think is important about your marketing is that you just instead of it being about sales, it's about building trust with people. It's about, getting to know them and what they want.
Mhm.
What products are they interested? What do they want to know about you? What, connect with them rather than just trying to sell to them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Love it. Um, let's see. Any tips? You mentioned it was a big change for you when you got a machine. Um, when we've got somebody that's maybe they're doing crafting or they're getting into screen printing and maybe they're struggling with the process. What are some other items aside from the press itself that really made a big impact on maybe your quality or your efficiency or even just your joy in doing the process, whether that's inks or screen types or anything?
I really have kept it pretty simple. The screen types I've learned over time. I went from, wood frames. I still use wood frames a lot, but aluminum frames have helped just with the tension, kind of learning some of the fine tuned details like that
Hmm.
have helped. Um, really just in fine tuning some details. I mean, it didn't really affect my projects back then. I was doing just fine, but
Yeah.
as you kind of get to progress and you're trying to, really look at it with a magnifying glass and trying to
Hmm.
figure out how do I go to the next step, stuff like that can make a difference, mesh count, those types of things. I still use the same inks I started with. Um, the press really was the big game changer for me. Different drying methods. I added a flash dryer. I still use that some, but I really I'm a big fan of water-based inks. So most of the time I just let it air dry and then heat press it.
Mm.
Being at home, again, I'm not doing a huge volume, and so
Sure.
I don't have the need to like cure stuff really quickly. So
Hmm.
keeping things simple and just using a heat press. I still use the same heat press I've used for years.
Hmm.
So, I really haven't had the need to expand into a ton of equipment, which I love. I love telling people that I haven't needed to, take over the garage yet.
Yeah.
So maybe one day, but, you can keep it simple and still do, big orders of shirts and then be able to pack it all away um, and have your space back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So, speaking of press, let's transition into what you're doing now. And you've got your new press hanging up on the wall there behind you. And so, let's talk a little bit about what Pigskins and Pigtails is now, how you're teaching and supporting the craft and screen print community. And then we'll talk a little bit about that press and where that came from and who it's for.
Yeah.
So, you've got, uh, I mean, obviously, you're super active on Instagram and you may even be more active on TikTok. I'm not sure. I've gone over to TikTok a little bit, but it just kind of overwhelms me, so I don't really know what to post on either one of them. So I find myself on neither of them. But you do a phenomenal job of posting content on there and supporting the community and creating instructional and educational content. And then you've got your courses and stuff too. So what all are you doing now, and what's your passion? What are you trying to achieve, and who are you serving?
Gosh, trying to keep up with social media. I mean, it's always challenging to stay active there. I find myself, every week trying to create new content, and for me, it's just to stay connected with my community more than anything, more than trying to please social media
Mhm.
algorithms. It's just more of the desire to stay connected with people, and I know that they wanna see new projects and what I've got going on, so, that's more of my drive these days is just to continue pushing myself to try new things and try new products and tell people what's new in screen printing and show them new techniques that they can try, so I'm out on social media just trying all the things and telling people what works and what doesn't work and, showing off things that I've techniques that I've tried and products that I like, so that it kinda gives them a jump start and they can see what, they might wanna try out with their screen printing business. And then I'm also in the background trying to update my courses and add new courses so that, those that really want a straightforward approach to learning the entire process in a weekend, or they just want to skip right into the meat of, business and learn something that they have that opportunity over on my website. So I've got that going on. I have a lot of digital downloads, digital products to help really jumpstart people that are looking for, those quick start kind of guides on my
Mhm.
site. Trying to stay active on YouTube. That's a whole nother platform that I'm trying to continue to create educational videos there that explain the process and a longer form content than I can get across in a quick Instagram post. So
Mhm.
that's my week in a a nutshell is trying to keep up with all the platforms and really just keep putting out information for people to help them improve their process, learn new things, and then I have an email list where I try to recap everything I'm doing and share that with people that maybe are bombarded by all the social medias. So if
Mhm.
anyone wants just that recap of what I'm up to, my email list is a good place to follow me as well.
Okay, very cool. So let's talk about the press now. You partnered with Ryanette recently to come out with this new press, this single station press that has the incredible ability to print multiple colors and set up screens that have been registered and remain that way as you go through the process. So it's a super unique press, very cool idea, and it serves a very specific market. So let's hear how that came about, what the passion is behind it, and who it's for.
Yeah, so I I'd been using a one color station here in my craft room and like I said, it was a game changer for me. I loved
Hmm.
it. Um there were, a couple things that as I was showing my audience and kind of hearing feedback from people that I was learning that, not everyone has a craft room to work out of. Some people were working from their kitchen counter and so as I was hearing people saying they didn't necessarily have the space for it, uh, I hated that people couldn't have that that jump start that I had, because it
Hmm.
was it was such a helpful tool, that one, I wanted it to be a little more portable, that you could use it and put it away. So one of
Mm.
the big key features of it is that it's lighter weight, it's still really heavy duty, so you still have the strength of, a typical one color press, but it's light enough weight you can pick it up and move it. And then it has suction cup feet, so you can stick it to
Mm.
your kitchen counter or your kitchen table. It doesn't have to be permanently mounted.
Yeah.
Um, Unless you want it to, you can take those feet off and mount it to a table if you wanted to. So that was one of the things I wanted. And then I threw a curveball at them when I was like, and I don't have room for a four color because by the time you add all the screens to a big four color press,
Mhm.
that really takes up a lot of room.
Yeah.
Um, I want this little small machine to also be able to do multiple colors. So we worked together to come up with this idea of being able to register the colors and then take the entire registered screen off and be able to still do multicolor in this small compact space. So that was a feature I was most excited to release because now you can screen print in your kitchen, but you can, not just do one color, you could do 8 colors from your kitchen counter if you wanted to, or
Yeah.
more. The cool part about this is it's not even limited to, a 12 color machine. If you wanted to do 20, you could. So
Yeah.
it's really unlimited. and that goes back to just this whole process of just being creative and being able to do whatever inspires you. You know, if you want to try to tackle a super complex full color design, I wanted people to be able to do that without being limited on space or limited on, you know, having to just keep buying new pieces of equipment to keep upgrading what they could do
Mhm.
from their house.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think, you hit on all the key features that I think serves the market that it's for really well, especially the suction cup feed and being able to put it away. I could definitely imagine that being a huge deal for, craft rooms and people working out of a smaller room. I think when you mentioned working out of the kitchen, what's funny is everybody always wants to, like even my shop, they see an 8 color 6 station and they go, "Oh my gosh, look, I'm not there yet." And I'm like, "Well, I had a little DIY kit that I started with." And you go back and watch the early Ryonet videos, there literally are videos with them in the kitchen,
Yeah.
using the DIY kit even,
Yeah.
printing posters and stuff, in a kitchen. So we all start there. And
Yep.
it looks like a great press that a craft business or a home-based business that sort of dabbles between several different creative outlets can really grow quite large with this press, and be able to offer a pretty premium product to people, without, like you said, getting a large, 4 station, 4 color, whatever, a large, a turnstile press that is going to take up a lot of space, and you got to work around it. You can't put it away anymore. So I think it's been very well received. I'm excited to see it grow, and it was a great
Great.
product. Super cool to see, especially the multicolor. I mean, that's kind of an ode to, of course, X Tool has it with their new laser press that they have, where it's got multicolors, but it's kind of that ode to the international printing style. You've seen these
Mhm.
videos of them printing overseas, and they'll take a screen and they work down the assembly line, and it's kind of that same method of it's already pre-registered and it sits right in where it's supposed to go every time. So I love that
Yeah.
you've brought that to this one. It's super cool.
Yeah, the other cool kind of surprising part to it, one, I was really excited to see that, we've had some pros try it out. I'd love for you to try it out sometime because I think that one of the things that I've been, excited about is that, you know, even the pros have said, "Man, this thing really holds up well," like,
Yeah.
is that I think beyond just it being a craft press, that it's gonna, you know, be something that people can hang on to as their business grows and
Yeah.
last for a long time, but another really neat thing that I've seen people start businesses with is live printing with it. So I've
Yeah.
had fun doing that myself. Is packing it up. It's so lightweight that you can grab it and take it to an event and print with it.
Mhm.
Um, the cool part about having stuff pre-registered is you could offer like multiple designs. So if you wanted to, you know, have 4 or 5 different designs people could pick from, it's all pre-registered so you could just snap in the design that someone wants. You don't have to sit there and like switch your screens out. So
Mm.
lots of opportunities for people
Oh, that's
to take
great.
this and hopefully start businesses with it because that's the ultimate goal of what we're both here doing, right? Is to
Yeah.
get people to start a business and gain some freedom hopefully um, by launching a business with what we love teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned the live printing because honestly, had this been out last year, I would have bought it. But I bought the Riley Hopkins 150, the single station, single color press. And it's under a table back here. You can't see it, but it's bolted onto a large piece of plywood as a base because it's too. And I had to clamp it down to the tables, but I bought it so that I could do a live printing session at my daughter's school as a demonstration for her class, and I let all the students come up and print their own shirt.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've got like clamps everywhere and holding it down, and it's just one design, which would have been fine. I probably still would have done one design, but um, I absolutely would have bought this, and I probably still will at some point, for live printing because I can absolutely see, a huge value add there for this type of press, so that you don't have to have a large booth. You can do this in small booths, inside or outside, and do one or even two of these presses. And like you mentioned, have several different design options that switching out is incredibly easy. So instead of taking a screen off of the clamp and putting it back on, lining it back up. I mean, it's just a matter of undoing the clamp, lift it off, put the other one on, and you're good to go. That's it's so fast. So I'll definitely be picking one up for live printing, and I recommend that anybody else that is getting into live or wants to do any sort of on location printing, I think that's the one to go with because that's a great feature to have.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm excited about it. There's lots of opportunities, so
Yeah,
been fun to
yeah,
see what people do with it.
very cool. So, what is it? What have you found? Um, like, what drives you to continue to do this? Obviously, you have a passion and a love for teaching and helping people. I know that's what drives me in this. But with screen printing, is there anything about the industry or even the craft industry that just it's just what keeps you going, and kind of drives to this continuation of Pigskins and Pigtails and creating these products and working with brands to bring these things to market?
I think just being able to be creative, I think that, um, there's always something new coming out in this industry of t-shirt decorating that it's fun to be able to experiment with different methods and just different ways to decorate that I haven't found a time yet that I've been stumped on what to make next. There's just
Mm,
continually new ideas and things to test out and different designs to try and techniques that it just keeps me excited to try new things and just the creative process is what drives me and then my audience engagement and asking questions and wanting to know how to do things, that really keeps me wanting to continue to post things. So when they ask questions and wanna know how to do things, that motivates me to make the next video and figure it out. If I don't know how to do something, I'm,
yeah.
asking others or watching a video to figure it out myself. I do a lot of testing behind the scenes that nobody sees, a lot of fails before I finally figure out a way that I feel comfortable explaining to people, that will work for everybody. So I like to do all that testing, and I'm fine wasting all the products to finally get to a point where I can say, "Okay, this is the exact formula that I know works," and
Mhm.
then be able to share that. So I have fun doing that, and then being able to create video. I've found a love for, creating short form video and sharing that. So, those 2 together have just kept me creative and, haven't gotten bored with it yet. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's great. There's something to that, idea of making something fun and focusing on what's fun about it and letting that be the driving factor. There's a new book out, from a guy that I'm sure, many people that are listening to this have probably heard of, but his name's Ali Abdal, and, he's a super popular YouTube guy, he's big on productivity, but he just released a book, in the last year or so called Feel Good Productivity, and that's the concept is like instead of seeing things as a drag, find the thing that really fuels you from a fun perspective. What makes it fun for you, or how can you make it fun? And let that be what creates the results that you need instead of seeing it as work. And that's always, I think, a lot of fear with people when they find a craft or something that they love. I hear I've got some friends that are bakers, and I love to cook. And we've got things like this that we're like, well, we don't really want that to ever be a business because we're afraid it won't be fun anymore. And it's a valid concern, but I don't think it always has to be the end result. I think you can still make something a business while still allowing it to be fun if you focus on letting what's fun be what drives you. So it's good to hear that that's still fun for you.
100%. I mean, I think anything that you do as a business, you have to enjoy doing it. Otherwise, you're gonna wanna give up before you actually get to the point of the reward of all the hours it takes to get to make your
Mhm.
business successful.
Yeah. Yeah, you get into screen print business and you're like you get your first couple of orders and you're like, "Man, I've spent a ton of time on this business and I haven't even printed a shirt yet."
Yeah,
Ordering shirts is a
exactly.
drag and sending the invoice is a drag, and, there's so much to it that's not fun, as with anything, so focusing on the things that are fun, is great. Um, alright. So let's wrap up with just where can people find you and follow you? And if there's anything that you're working on that you want to tease or let people know that's coming, um, feel free to promote to your heart's content here. We want to support you and drive people to follow you and get support from what it is that you're creating. So where can we find you?
Of course, on social media, Instagram at Pigskins and Pigtails, TikTok as well, and same handle. YouTube and, my email newsletter, like I mentioned before, is a great place to kinda keep up with me between all the social media posts. You can sign up for that on my website, which is pigskinsandpigtails.com. That's also a good hub for learning all about my process. I have tons of blog posts and links to all the products that I use and the press that we talked about today. Um, and then as far as what's to come, I am working on some new courses and updating some of the ones that I've had out there for a while.
Mhm.
So those hopefully will have some new content coming there. And then always got my eye on some new products, just trying to continue to look for things to make it easier for people to get started and less intimidating. So um just been keeping my eye out for those ideas and just continuing to make content that gets people ready to try this. I think that if you're watching this and haven't tried the process yet, hopefully by listening to us today, it's at least giving you the motivation to just give it a try because
Yeah.
we've both found through screen printing that you can create that side hustle and you never know where it'll go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and like Jennifer said, if you're listening to this and you haven't been had the courage to try, I think another thing you can gain here is that you don't need the Riley 300, to get screen printing. You don't need even a press at all. Just a screen and a t-shirt and some ink, is really all you need. And as far as the process being done right or wrong, if at the end of the day you end up with a shirt that has a design printed on it, then you did it. You did a
Yeah,
great job and you accomplished and you did it right. You did it right for you right then, and that's all that matters, and maybe you can take what you learned, like Jennifer said, and tweak some things the next time. But that first time, just be willing to try, and you never know, like Jennifer said, where you're gonna end up 'cause, there's some big businesses that can come out of this if you want it to be. But if nothing else, a lot of fun.
exactly.
Yeah. You also mentioned, getting into lasers now too, so I'm excited to see, you putting out some content on that. That's something that I've always wanted to get, but I haven't, been able to achieve that quite yet, but it's on my radar, so I'm excited to see what you create with that and, take some inspiration there and some, encouragement, whenever it's time for me to get into to lasers myself. So, looking forward to seeing that. So, again, Jennifer, thanks for joining. Thanks for sharing your passion, your knowledge, your story with us. Big fan, big follower. Always excited to see what's next, and take encouragement from you and inspiration while I try to keep up with the social media game. I'm way behind you, but I'm going to follow your lead. So, thanks for serving the community, and for creating the content and being willing to do the tests and the trial and error so that the rest of us can learn from it and skip those and get right to the success. So very much
Yeah.
appreciated, and I wish you the best.
Well, thanks so much. Keep creating content. That's how I found you is on TikTok. So
Yeah.
you never know.
Yep.
I think that's one of the biggest things you even as, a small creator, you just never know who, where is gonna find your stuff. So start wherever you're at and go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Thanks for all you're doing for the industry too and sharing how people can get started with business. I think that um, everyone's getting some great advice to just get started, and then you can teach them and share a lot of your expertise and how to get into the business once they get going. So thanks for everything you're doing too.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. All right, Jennifer. Well, thanks again. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing what's next.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. All right, that was fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you again to Jennifer for being willing to join and share her story and a little bit of her passion and why she does what she does for the screen print industry. So make sure you go follow her on all of her social media platforms and thank her. Let her know what you thought about the interview. I'll definitely be having her on again. Look forward to partnering with her on more things in the future. Listen, if you're not subscribed to the podcast, then be sure you do so. Go subscribe on YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So if you could leave a review on the podcast or a comment on YouTube, that kind of helps the show grow and spread out to impact more people and get the word out there. And help me continue to do my passion of sharing screen printing and business with the industry. So again, thank you as always for listening. If you want to support the channel, it is listener supported. There are ways to do that down in the description. So if you're interested in that, be sure you check that out. If you have not already joined the Print Crew, it is now a free community to join. We're just kind of getting things started over there. It's a bunch of screen printers that are getting started and just trying to build good businesses and help each other along the way. So if that sounds like a place that you want to be, where a safe place to ask questions and to make mistakes and to encourage each other, then I'd love to have you join that over at theprintcrew.com. Again, links down in the description below. Hope you've enjoyed this. I've got a lot more coming your way. I've been really focusing heavily on the Illustrator design stuff, Photoshop, things like that. So be sure you follow me on Instagram to catch those reels that I've been posting and look ahead towards some exciting new events and training opportunities to go deeper into learning Illustrator and screen printing as a whole. So thanks as always. Hope you have a great day. Look forward to bringing you the next episode very soon.